Keyframes can get very complicated, so we're going to keep it as simple as possible. The basis of keyframes is a little bit like plotting a course on a chart. At the beginning of your journey, you would place a marker on your chart. You then, because you want to come over to here, you would put a point there and probably draw a line on your chart, and then if it goes on, you would draw a line to this point here. So you'd have these points here where something happens. Each time something happens, you have to have a keyframe. You have to have one at the beginning, at any interim positions, and at the end. Well, let's just play this whole thing through. That's kept that very simple. In order to show you the moves and keyframes, I've reproduced this little sequence, and there are no keyframes related to it. All the elements are there, but no keyframes. So we'll start with the asterisk, and if we go to title, it might well be in title because you've just written it. If you go to title settings with the asterisk text clip highlighted, you can then animate it. So the X moves it left and right, and the Y moves it up and down. So we'll have it start here, and in order to tell it that it needs to start there, you have to click and make a keyframe. So if we now do shift and forward arrow twice, we move on 2 seconds. And if we now animate the asterisk to that position, it creates a keyframe for that automatically. So shift and forward arrow 2 seconds again. We will now take it to its final position somewhere like that. And if we play that, it goes on a linear course, and it's travelling the same speed all the time. Now, in order to make it travel a little more naturally, where it will accelerate at the beginning and decelerate at the end, go to beginning, make sure you're at the keyframe for the beginning, and that would be easily done by clicking the back arrow there, so we know we're in position. Right click on the little diamond, the red diamond, and select ease out. So if we now go forward to that position and then forward again, takes it to its final position, there's a keyframe there, right click it and ease in. This will make it a little more organic, the way it moves. We now move on, that will stay there for a duration now, no problem with that. So we now move on to the North Sea text. Now the North Sea, we want to start off over here, so highlight its clip, go to position X and move it off screen. We now need to tell it that that's where we want it to start from, because this is our first move. So at this point in time, we want that to be keyframed into that position. If we now do shift and 2 forward arrows, 2 seconds, we now want this to come on, and we want it to be there, but I'm going to make it go and I'll exaggerate this a little and want to go and make it go there and then bounce back. So it's created a keyframe for that. If I now go forward 12 frames, and move that back to where I want it to be, it has now created a keyframe for that. I want it to stay there for half a second, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 clicks of the, it's near enough half a second, it's 12 frames. So at that point I want it to be in that position. So in this case I've got to click the keyframe because it didn't automatically reproduce because it's staying in that position. I now want it to go forward and off quickly. So if I go forward 1 second, and I'll just disable that for a second. So we've gone forward a second. The North Sea then wants to be off to the right. Now if we replay that, we'll play just the North Sea. Slides on, bounces, stays there, bounces off. That looks pretty good too. So the next thing we want to do, we want to slide this image. Now it doesn't have to be an image, it could be footage. Just so happens that I'm using an image, a still image from a still camera actually. So we want it to start off screen to the right. So if we go highlight it, go to transform, it's slightly different here because it's not a text. So we go to transform, which is in the inspector, video transform. If it's not there, it might be that you're down here somewhere, you need to slide up. So at this point here, we want the image to be off to the right. So you drag the X here and drag it off to the right. And because it's the start, again, we have to say, yes, that's where we want it to be, a keyframe. If we now go forward 2 seconds, click 1, 2, and move it, we're using the X, move it on to full screen. I'm not going to bounce this one. So we move that on, and we want it to, it's created a new keyframe, so that's good. We want it to stay there for 12 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 frames. We then need to give it a keyframe because it's not produced it automatically in this case. I now want to zoom. At the moment it's at a particular value of zoom, so we want to hold it there, and then we're going to zoom in. So I want to zoom in 1 second. So shift and 1 second forward, and at that point I want there to have been a zoom. Now it's cutting off the legs of the chair, so we can now move that up, repositioning both those, and we've got new keyframes for that. Well, then we've ended up in the right position, because then at the end I want it to fade, so I'll pull the handle. Let's just zoom in on that. Move the handle to there, say, and we need to make sure that when it goes off the fade, we don't want these other elements to show through. So we don't want that to show, and we don't want that to show. If we left them sticking out there, as it comes off, it would hit the playhead, would show those and not this new image. So if we now Zoom back a bit. Go to the beginning and play the whole sequence. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching.